Hello and welcome. In this video, we are going to take another look at an HTML attribute for images. This video is sort of a little bit of an addendum or a follow-up or a spoiler, teaser, however you want to think of it, to the use of images for the purposes of background. Now, in an earlier video, I showed you a couple of different ways how to use images, including for hyperlinks, buttons, and just in general in the document, as well as including a background image for your page. But we ran into a little bit of a problem or a limitation, and that is if you take a look at the page, you'll see that we can't really see the background, or rather that the images are not transparent on the background. And so we'd like to play around with this just a little bit to see if we can affect how the background behaves with respect to the foreground. And again, we're not going to cover all the different possibilities in this video. I just thought that for your curiosity's sake, we'd take a look at a couple of other styling features. And that is, again, associated with the background image. And what we'd like to do is we'd like to look at the features associated with the background blend mode, or the behavior, I guess you could say, associated with background blend mode, as well as the rgba function. Now, we talked a little bit in an earlier video, or in another video rather, about the RGB function, which basically allows for you to convert RGB values into a certain color. But the rgba function allows for you to leverage not only the RGB colors, but also then the opacity. And so the idea here is we can control then fundamentally the transparency of the background. And so let's play around with this just a little bit for this particular example. You'll notice real quick before we leave this page here that we specify values from 0 to 255 for the R, the G, and the B values, and a value from 0 to 1 for the opacity. And we're going to combine that with the CSS background blend mode property to essentially control the influence of this sandy background on the rest of the document. So we're going to come in here, we're going to go ahead and add a couple more properties in here. We'll go ahead and add our background blend mode. And again, there are a number of different possibilities. What I want to do to start off with is use the lighten, and I want to combine that then with a specific color for the background. And so again, we're going to go ahead and use the property for the background color. And what we're going to do is we're going to use that rgba function, and we're going to use a value of 255 for the red layer, 255 for the green layer, and 255 for the blue layer. And then we're going to use 0.3 for the opacity. Now I'm going to go ahead and save this. And what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to leave this up in its unrefreshed state. I'm going to attempt to split the screen for us here. Hopefully this will work out reasonably well. And I'm going to come over here to my folder again, and I'm simply going to load another copy of our sample_07.html. Now, this may not be the best example for this. You can see there's only a slight lightening of it. So we can come over here, we could play around with this here. We can go ahead and drop this all the way down to 0.1, which should make that background really, really transparent. Now, again, we're not working with any of the buttons yet. That's going to be a different task, but we can come over here, and I'm going to simply refresh this second copy of our page. And you can see here then how I can control the background tinting, if you would, of the background image. And again, what we can do is to play around with this some more. I'm going to go ahead and increase this. In other words, this is going to increase the influence of that background color. Let's bump this up to a much higher value. So in other words, this should end up really bleaching this out here. So we're going to use 0.9 now for the opacity. And I'm going to come back again one more time. I'm going to get both of our pages up here. Again, the one on the left is the original one that we didn't do anything with. And you can see here, oh boy, that was a little too much. Sorry, probably should have tested these values beforehand. But again, I like to do a lot of these live. That was definitely too much. Let's throttle back with this a little bit. You can see here that the R, G, and B values, which in 255, 255, 255 is going to be pure white. It really, really bleached that image. Let's drop this back to 0.7. That should probably give us a better view here. And again, I'm going to go ahead and pull up these two, refreshing the one on the right, which is the one that we're editing. And again, you can sort of see how this is changing the behavior of this background image. Again, it's doing nothing to the areas in white around Blaze. And again, let's just play around with this one more time. Let's have a little bit of fun here. I'm going to go ahead and essentially leverage only the red layer. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to attempt to give this a reddish hue. And so let's go ahead and save this. Again, the particular example here, this sand might, with the brown in it, might not work extremely well here, but you can see that it even influences the rest of the document down here. But the sand itself has now become a little bit on the red side. Again, you can play around with the image size, the way the image is, what elements the image covers, and so on, so that you don't necessarily have this white background. Again, this is just supposed to be more of an introduction or spoiler to all of the different possibilities with styling. And again, as I mentioned in the earlier video, you probably don't ultimately want to include all of your style in line. And what we'll do is in later videos, we'll see how we can go about pushing the style into another document. So as always, hopefully you found this video useful. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, don't hesitate to reach out to me. And thank you for watching.